Black Hollow. A name whispered on the wind, a chilling reminder of a town swallowed by silence. Once vibrant, now desolate, its empty streets echoed a tragedy too terrible to speak aloud. The townsfolk had vanished, leaving behind an unsettling emptiness that clung to the very air. Only Edwin Morrow dared to tread upon its forgotten paths. Edwin craved solitude. The city, with its relentless noise and suffocating crowds, had driven him to the edge. Black Hollow, in all its eerie silence, seemed to offer a sanctuary. The quiet was a balm, the solitude a comfort. In the abandoned homes he saw stories etched in dust, fragments of lives once lived. For a while he found peace in the town's hushed embrace. It began subtly, a floorboard creaking in the dead of night, the rustle of curtains when no wind stirred. Edwin dismissed them as tricks of the mind, remnants of his city anxieties clinging to the silence. But the whispers started soon after, soft and indistinct, carried on the breeze. They seemed to come from the well in the town square, a low murmur that sent chills down his spine. Unease settled upon Edwin, a constant companion to the growing whispers. Objects moved inexplicably. It started with small things, a book falling off the shelf, a chair slightly out of place. Edwin tried to rationalize these occurrences, attributing them to drafts or his own forgetfulness. But as days turned into weeks, the incidents grew more frequent and harder to dismiss. The whispers, barely audible at first, became a constant murmur, filling the silence of his home with an eerie presence. Doors opened, revealing only darkness. Edwin would find doors ajar that he was certain he had closed. The creaking sound of a door opening in the dead of night became a familiar, yet unsettling occurrence. Each time he approached the open doorway, a chill would run down his spine, as if the darkness beyond was watching him, waiting for him to step closer. One night, he awoke to the distinct feeling of being watched. His heart pounded in his chest as he lay still, straining to hear any sound that might betray the presence of another. The room was silent, but the sensation of eyes upon him was undeniable. He turned on the light, but nothing seemed out of place. Yet, the feeling lingered, gnawing at his sanity. A cold spot settled on his chest, the weight of an invisible gaze. It was as if an icy hand had reached out from the darkness to touch him. The coldness seeped into his skin, leaving him shivering and breathless. He tried to brush it off, but the sensation persisted, a constant reminder of the unseen presence that haunted his nights. When he lit a candle, he saw it, a wet footprint on the wooden floor as if left by a bare foot. The sight sent a jolt of fear through him. He knelt down to touch the footprint, feeling the dampness on his fingertips. It was real, tangible evidence that he was not alone. The footprint led to the doorway, disappearing into the darkness beyond. He was no longer alone. The realization settled heavily upon him. The unseen guest had made its presence known, and there was no escaping it. Edwin's home, once a sanctuary, had become a place of dread. Every shadow seemed to hide a lurking figure, every creak of the floorboards a reminder of the entity that shared his space. He knew he had to confront it, but the fear of the unknown paralyzed him. The unseen guest was here to stay. Footprints in the dust. The footprints became a recurring nightmare. They appeared everywhere, across the dusty floors, on the stairs, even outside his door. Each one was a chilling reminder of the unseen presence that shared his solitude. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, weaving tales of sorrow and loss. Edwin's fear morphed into a morbid fascination, a dangerous curiosity about the secrets Black Hollow held. The haunting portrait. One day, exploring a boarded-up house, Edwin stumbled upon a portrait hidden beneath a tattered sheet. It depicted a young woman with hauntingly familiar eyes, her expression a mixture of sorrow and malice. The whispers intensified as he stared at the portrait, the woman's gaze seeming to follow his every move. From that moment, the woman in the portrait invaded his thoughts, her sorrowful eyes a constant presence. The drowning whisper. Sleep offered no escape. Edwin was plagued by nightmares, vivid and terrifying. He dreamt of drowning, dragged down by unseen hands, the woman from the portrait laughing cruelly above him. He'd wake up gasping for air, the sound of rushing water echoing in his ears. The whispers had transformed, becoming a singular, desperate plea, "Help me!" The truth of Black Hollow, a place shrouded in mystery and steeped in legend. For centuries, the locals have whispered tales of the supernatural, of spirits that wander the woods and shadows that move on their own. It is said that those who venture too close to the heart of Black Hollow never return the same, if they return at all. Drawn by the plea, Edwin found himself back at the well. This ancient structure, covered in moss and surrounded by twisted trees, seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Edwin had heard the stories, but he never believed them until now. The well was said to be a portal, a gateway to another realm where lost souls lingered, trapped between worlds. The whispers were at their strongest here, swirling around him like a vortex of despair. They seemed to call his name, beckoning him closer, filling his mind with images of the past. He could almost see the faces of those who had disappeared, their eyes pleading for release. The air was thick with sorrow and regret, and Edwin felt a chill run down his spine. He peered into the well's dark depths, a sense of foreboding gripping his heart. The darkness seemed to stretch on forever, an abyss that threatened to swallow him whole. He could hear the faint sound of water dripping, echoing up from the depths, and he wondered what lay hidden in the shadows below. The well was a mystery, a puzzle that begged to be solved, but at what cost? An image flickered in the darkness, the woman from the portrait, her face pale and ghostly, her eyes filled with sorrow. She seemed to be trapped, her spirit bound to the well, unable to move on. Edwin felt a pang of sympathy for her, but also a deep sense of dread. What had happened to her? Why was she here, and what did she want from him? Her white dress billowing around her as she reached up towards him, her fingers like tendrils of mist. She seemed to be reaching out for help, for salvation. But there was something else in her eyes, something dark and menacing. Edwin took a step back, his heart pounding in his chest. He wanted to help her, but he was afraid of what might happen if he did. Her eyes filled with a terrible longing. They seemed to bore into his soul, searching for something, pleading for release. Edwin felt a connection to her, a bond that he couldn't explain. He knew that he had to do something, but he didn't know what. The truth of Black Hollow was more than he had ever imagined, and he was about to uncover its darkest secrets. A chilling realization. A terrifying truth dawned on Edwin. He had always been drawn to the mysterious allure of Black Hollow, a town shrouded in legends and whispers. But now, standing in the heart of its eerie silence, he realized the true nature of its call. Black Hollow wasn't haunted by the dead, it craved the living. The town had a pulse, a heartbeat that resonated with the souls it ensnared. It wasn't just a place, it was a living entity, feeding off the energy of those who wandered into its grasp. It had lured him here, seduced him with its silence, a silence so profound it felt like a promise of peace. But that peace was a facade, a trap set by the town to capture the unwary, imprisoned him with its beauty. The picturesque streets, the hauntingly beautiful forest, all of it was a part of the town's sinister charm. It was a prison wrapped in a beautiful lie, a cage disguised as a sanctuary, and the whispers? They weren't warnings but pleas for him to join them. The voices of those who had come before him, now a part of the town's essence, calling out to him, urging him to surrender to the darkness, but pleas for him to join them, to become one with the town's chilling embrace. The shadows that moved in the corners of his vision, the ghostly figures that seemed to watch him, they were all a part of the town's insidious plan. To become one with the town's chilling embrace. He could feel the town's grip tightening around him, its cold fingers reaching into his soul, trying to pull him into its dark heart. He had sought solace but found something far more sinister. The refuge he had hoped for was nothing but an illusion, a cruel joke played by the town to ensnare him further, a darkness that threatened to consume him entirely. The more he struggled, the tighter the town's grip became, until he realized that escape was impossible. Black Hollow had claimed him, and there was no way out.